When someone stops taking you seriously. Try this simple trick and see what happens. Stoic lifestyle. What if you could finally stop pouring your energy into people who don't value you? And start making them look at you with something far more powerful than admiration, respect. What if, just a few minutes from now, you learned one mental shift that would make those who underestimated you regret ever taking you for granted? And what if today became the day you stopped chasing validation, and started living unapologetically on your own terms? No more waiting. No more permission. This isn't a video to make you feel good. It's not about comfort, sugar-coated truths, or soft encouragement. It's about what most men need to hear, but most will never dare to face. This is about stepping up, not to be liked, but to be respected. To stop playing the role others handed you, and start writing your own damn script. Because the truth is this, the world doesn't care about the excuses you whisper to yourself at night. It doesn't owe you understanding. It doesn't bend just because you wish it would. You keep looking for power out there, in applause, in attention, in approval. But the power you've been chasing, it's already inside you, buried under years of trying to please, trying to prove, trying to fit in. And the respect you want so badly, you'll never get it by begging for it. You earn it, by commanding it. How? By owning your worth, by honoring your standards, by keeping your promises to yourself. Today is not about inspiration. It's about liberation. It's the line in the sand, the moment you stop waiting for life to hand you confidence and start building it from within. Because here's the harsh truth. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to crown you worthy. You either take the reins, or keep playing by their rules forever. And you know exactly where that leads: resentment, exhaustion, emptiness. But you're here because part of you is ready. Ready to stop shrinking. Ready to stop asking for permission. Ready to reclaim the life that's been yours all along. So today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it. We're going to break free from the validation trap. Set boundaries like a true leader. Reclaim your focus and own your path without apology. Because this is the roadmap, not to becoming someone new, but to becoming who you were always meant to be. And by the time this video ends, you won't just feel different, you will be different. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to stop playing their game and start creating your own? Let's begin by exposing one of the most dangerous traps men fall into, the invisible prison of seeking approval. So now that we've stepped out of their game and started claiming our own worth, let's get honest about the trap that's kept so many men stuck for far too long. Here's the deal. If you're truly ready to stop being overlooked, to stop being undervalued, to stop feeling like no matter what you do, you're always invisible, then stay right here with me until the very end of this video. Right now, go drop a comment below that says, I choose respect over approval. Why? Because today, yes, today, is the day everything changes. Let's start with the first and most critical shift. 1. Don't chase validation. Let me be blunt. Chasing validation is the fastest way to lose respect. Not just from others, but from yourself. It's the most unattractive habit a man can fall into. And worst of all, it's invisible to most until it's too late. So let's break it down clearly. What really happens when you start seeking validation? You hand over your power. You literally give someone else the keys to your self-worth. You're saying, tell me I'm good enough, instead of knowing you already are. That's not strength. That's surrender. And surrender doesn't earn respect. It repels it. And here's the part no one ever tells you. Society conditioned you to behave this way. From the moment you were a little boy, you were taught to be the good one, to be polite, to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, to make everyone happy, even at your own expense. You were trained to earn approval like a reward, to chase after smiles, to bend over backward for a pat on the head. But let me tell you the truth, that mindset is a trap. It was designed to keep you small, agreeable, and dependent on others' opinions. And worst of all, it doesn't even work. Let's paint the picture. You're in a relationship. Your partner starts pulling away, less affection, fewer messages, distant energy. What do most guys do? They panic. They start texting more, calling more, trying harder, doing everything to fix the connection. But what happens? She pulls away even more. Why? Because desperation kills attraction. It screams weakness. And deep down, you already know this. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just about women. This dynamic plays out in every area of your life. Your friendships, your job, your family, even your social circles. The more you seek approval, the more you communicate, "I don't believe I'm enough," and people can feel that. People respect strength, not neediness. And chasing validation, that's the loudest form of neediness there is. In the next section, we're going to dive even deeper into this trap, and expose the subtle behaviors you don't even realize are costing you your power. So ask yourself right now, are you commanding respect, or silently begging for it? Let's talk boundaries. Because real power begins with what you refuse to tolerate. That's coming up in the next chapter. Let's keep going, because now that you understand why chasing validation weakens you, it's time to break the cycle for good. The display of neediness. How to break free from the validation trap. Here's your way out, and it starts by flipping the script entirely. Instead of living your life in pursuit of other people's approval, start asking yourself one powerful question. Am I living in a way that I respect? That's the real test. Not, do they like me? Not, do they approve of me? But, do I respect myself? Are your daily choices, your habits, your standards, aligned with your values? If the answer is no, don't sugarcoat it. Don't make excuses. It's time for a change. Because here's the truth, the moment you start respecting yourself, others will too. That's how the shift begins. That's when people start seeing you differently, because you finally started seeing yourself differently. Let's get brutally honest for a second. Not everyone will value you. No matter how kind, smart, loyal, or patient you are, some people simply won't see your worth. And guess what? That's okay. It's not your job to convince them. It's not your responsibility to contort yourself into someone you're not just to be accepted. Your real job, to become the best version of yourself, whether anyone's watching or not. Because here's the paradox. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. And when you attract from a place of confidence, from self-respect, not desperation, that's when everything changes. 2. Recognize the warning signs. Breaking free from the validation trap doesn't just start with new behavior. It starts with awareness. You can't fix what you won't face. And let's be real, most men ignore the signs. They sense something's off. They feel the shift in energy. But instead of confronting it, they look away, hoping things will go back to normal. Why? Because the truth is uncomfortable. It's easier to pretend everything is fine than admit you're being taken for granted. But turning a blind eye won't save you, it will only sink you deeper. Let's talk about those red flags, the signs that someone has stopped valuing you. Sometimes they're subtle. A colder tone, a delay in response, a vibe that feels off but you can't explain. And sometimes they hit you like a slap in the face. Plans suddenly get cancelled without warning. Your calls go unanswered. Your presence starts to feel like a burden, not a blessing. And yet, you stay. You excuse it. You tell yourself, they're just busy. Or it's probably nothing. But deep down, you know, you feel it. That gut-level discomfort that whispers, something's wrong. That voice inside you, that's your inner warning system. And the more you ignore it, the more you betray your own self-respect. In the next part, we're going to talk about exactly what to do when those red flags show up, and how to respond like a man of value, not a boy begging to be chosen. Because respecting yourself isn't just about knowing your worth, it's about defending it when it's tested. Let's pick up right where we left off, because once you start seeing the signs, the next question is, what are you going to do about them? Recognizing disrespect for what it is. It doesn't always come in loud, obvious ways. Sometimes disrespect slips in quietly, through missed calls, cold replies, or last-minute cancellations that slowly chip away at your dignity. But whether it's subtle or direct, The signs are always there. You just have to stop ignoring them. Take a moment, really think. Have you ever felt like you were giving your all to someone? Pouring your time, your attention, your energy into them, only to get crumbs in return? Maybe you're the one always reaching out, the one always making plans, the one always bending to keep things together. And what do you get? Excuses, indifference, silence. It stings. But here's the truth that hits even harder. People value what they have to earn. When you're the one doing all the work, you're teaching them they don't have to. You're sending the message, without saying a word, that your presence is cheap. And what's cheap? Easily discarded. Easily replaced. This isn't about pointing fingers or blaming others for being who they are. This is about turning the mirror inward and asking, am I tolerating behavior that disrespects me? Am I giving too much without boundaries? Am I ignoring red flags because I fear confrontation? If your gut says yes, it's time to wake up. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're in a relationship. At first, things feel fine. Then one day, she cancels plans last minute. You brush it off. Next time, it happens again. You make excuses. Maybe she's tired. Maybe work is stressful. Then it becomes a pattern. The cancellations pile up. The affection fades. The distance grows. But you still say nothing. Why? Because you're afraid of what confrontation might cost you. But here's what you don't realize. By staying silent, you're teaching her that your time doesn't matter. That you don't matter. And once someone believes that, why would they change? So let's be clear. Recognizing the warning signs isn't just about spotting disrespect. It's about deciding how you're going to respond to it. Are you going to keep shrinking, keep justifying, keep playing small? Or are you ready to raise the standard? Because no one can treat you like you don't matter, unless you allow it. And that brings us to the next shift, one of the most powerful moves you can make. Learning the strength of stepping back, not to punish, not to manipulate, but to reclaim your value. So, what happens when you stop tolerating disrespect? You don't shout, you don't plead, you step back. And that simple act changes everything. Why stepping back is so powerful? You see, stepping back isn't just pulling away physically. It's a psychological shift. It's removing your energy, your presence, your attention from people who once assumed you'd always be there. And when that happens, when you stop playing their game, the entire dynamic begins to shift. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been the one who always texted first, always planned the dates, always made the effort? You were reliable, predictable, available. And what happened? They got comfortable. They stopped trying, because they knew you'd always be there. You were a safety net, always catching them, always showing up. But here's the reality. Predictability breeds complacency, and complacency kills respect. Now picture this. One day, you step back. No dramatic exit. No angry texts. You just stop chasing. Suddenly, the silence is deafening. They notice the quiet. They check their phone, wondering, why hasn't he messaged me? They start asking themselves, did I do something wrong? They feel your absence, and for the first time, they realize your presence was never guaranteed. That's the power of stepping back. But make no mistake, this isn't about playing mind games. You're not trying to manipulate them. You're not trying to get a reaction. This is about reclaiming your power. It's about pulling your energy out of someone who doesn't appreciate it, and pouring it back into yourself. It's about shifting from how can I fix this, to how can I grow from this? And that shift, that's the beginning of everything. When you step back to focus on yourself, something incredible happens. You get stronger, you get sharper, you get more grounded in who you are and what you bring to the table. You stop obsessing over their validation, because you've finally started validating yourself. You start walking taller, thinking clearer, living better. And while they're busy wondering where you went, you're too busy becoming someone even you're impressed by. And here's the twist, by the time they realize what they've lost, you may no longer want them back. Because when you truly invest in yourself, you see your own worth clearly, maybe for the first time in years. And that brings us to the next step, a truth that most men avoid because it's uncomfortable. Setting boundaries, not as a threat, but as a declaration of your self-respect. Let's be clear, your worth was never tied to their approval. It was never defined by their texts, their attention, or their validation. You were always enough. You just needed to see it for yourself. So the next time someone disrespects you, don't blow up, don't chase. Step back, take a breath, refocus on you, and then just watch. Watch how they start to notice. More importantly, watch how you start to rise, because that's when the shift happens, when their silence is no longer what matters. It's your power, your presence, your peace. Number 4, invest in yourself. Now, let's talk about something most men overlook completely: self-investment. Not distractions, not numbing out with TV or scrolling TikTok, but the kind of deep, intentional investment that transforms you, that rebuilds you, that wakes you up every morning feeling sharper, stronger, and more alive. Let me ask you this: when was the last time you truly put yourself first? Not just indulging in comfort, but pouring into your own growth, mind, body, spirit. Because here's the hard truth: the world does not reward mediocrity, and no one respects a man who neglects himself. Most guys, they give it all away. They pour their time, their energy, their dreams, into relationships that don't value them. They bend over backward to fix others, while letting themselves fall apart in silence. They put off goals, delay purpose, and stay stuck, all for the approval of people who wouldn't even show up for them. And then what? They feel drained. They feel bitter. They feel lost, not because they're broken, but because they stopped investing in the one person who truly matters, themselves. So let's change that, starting now. When you choose to invest in yourself, you send a message to the world and, more importantly, to yourself: I matter. I'm worth the time. I'm worth the effort. I'm worth showing up for. That message is electric. It reshapes your identity from the inside out. And guess what? The world responds accordingly. You want to shift how others treat you? Start by shifting how you treat yourself. And if you're wondering where to begin, ask yourself this: what does the best version of me look like? Not the man you are right now, but the man you know you could be, if you stopped compromising, stopped shrinking, and stopped hiding behind excuses. Visualize him. What time does he wake up? What does his day look like? What habits does he stick to no matter what? What kind of standards does he uphold? That version of you, he's already inside. He's just waiting for you to stop settling and start choosing him, every single day. Because when you become that man, people notice. Opportunities find you. Respect becomes your default, not your pursuit. You see someone who's fitter, stronger, more disciplined, he's financially secure, emotionally grounded, living a life with purpose. And a quiet voice inside you whispers, that could be me. Then immediately, another voice starts making excuses. He had better luck. He had more support. He had fewer setbacks. But deep down, you know the truth. What's really stopping you? 9 times out of 10. The answer isn't your partner. It's not your parents. Not your job. Not society. It's you. And here's the liberating part: that's great news. Because if the problem is you, then the solution is also you. And that means you hold the power to change everything. But change doesn't begin with motivation or luck. It begins with a decision. A decision to stop bleeding time and energy on things that don't matter. To stop waiting for someone else to fix it, notice you, or hand you an opportunity. To start showing up for yourself like your future depends on it, because it does. Now imagine this: instead of texting someone who clearly doesn't value you, you grab your keys, hit the gym, and pour that energy into your body. Instead of spiraling over someone's cold reply, you crack open a book, take notes, and learn something new. Instead of waiting to be picked, you pick yourself. Set your own goals. Take the first messy step toward a business, a dream, a better life. That's self-respect in action. And you know what happens when you start doing that? You change, not just your routine, But the way you walk into a room, you stop chasing approval because your energy starts speaking louder than words. People notice. They feel the difference. Why? Because self-investment creates presence. It creates magnetism. You don't have to tell people you've changed. They'll feel it in how you move, how you speak, and how you carry yourself. Discipline, clarity, purpose. These are attractive. And they don't come from chasing. They come from building. So starting today, make this promise to yourself: I will commit to one act of self-investment daily. Just one. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's 30 minutes in the gym. Maybe it's journaling instead of scrolling. Maybe it's writing down one goal and taking the first step toward it. Do it for you. Do it because the man you've always wanted to become, he's not a dream. He's a decision. And once you choose to invest in him daily, he starts to appear. Slowly, then suddenly. But here's the thing, once you begin growing, once your self-worth starts climbing, you'll need something powerful to protect it. That's where boundaries come in, because growth means nothing if you let people walk all over it. Let's talk about how to set boundaries like a leader. Let's talk about something most men were never taught: boundaries. Just the word makes some guys uncomfortable. Why? Because they've been conditioned to believe that setting boundaries makes you difficult, selfish, or even rude. But here's the truth you were never told: boundaries don't push people away. They protect what matters most. Think of boundaries not as brick walls, but as guardrails. They don't isolate you. They keep you from veering off the path you've worked so hard to build. They protect your time, your energy, your peace of mind. And without them, you become an open door. Anyone can walk in. And worse, anyone can walk all over you. Let me ask you something straight. How many times have you said yes when everything in you screamed no? How many times have you allowed someone to cross the line, just to avoid an argument? How often have you swallowed your discomfort, silenced your voice, and sacrificed your own peace just to keep the peace? Every time you do that, you're broadcasting a message loud and clear: my feelings don't matter, my time doesn't matter, my standards don't matter. And here's the brutal part: people believe you, because people will only value what you value. And if you don't value your time, your worth, your limits, why would they? Here's a truth every man needs to hear: if you don't set boundaries, you're not being kind, you're being complicit. Boundaries aren't about being aggressive or confrontational. They're about being clear, direct, and self-respecting. You're not saying I don't care about you. You're saying, I care about myself enough to not accept anything less than respect. So where do you start? Start with your non-negotiables. What are the things you absolutely will not tolerate? Constant lateness, passive-aggressive comments, emotional manipulation or guilt-tripping, being put last over and over again. Whatever it is, write it down. Get brutally honest with yourself. Because if you don't know your own boundaries, how can you expect anyone else to honor them? Then comes the most important part, communicating them. And here's the key: don't just speak your boundaries. Live them. Words can be ignored, but actions demand respect. Let me give you an example. Let's say someone keeps interrupting you or speaks to you with disrespect. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to argue. What you need to do is calmly, confidently withdraw your attention. Stop engaging. End the conversation. Leave the room if you have to. That silence, that boundary, it speaks louder than any lecture. Remember, people learn how to treat you based on what you allow. And when you start showing the world you're not afraid to draw the line, you don't become the villain. You become the standard. And that's a standard worth protecting. Because the moment you begin defending your time, your peace, your values, everything around you starts to shift. You gain clarity, you earn respect, and you finally start living on your terms. Don't argue, don't explain, just enforce. Because boundaries are not up for debate. They are not requests. They are standards. And your standards mean nothing if you're not willing to stand by them. So what does that look like in the real world? Let's say you have a friend who keeps canceling plans at the last minute. Not once, not twice, but consistently. Stop making plans with them. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Or maybe you're in a relationship where your partner is repeatedly disrespectful. They mock your boundaries, disregard your feelings, and treat your time like it doesn't matter. Have the courage to walk away, because love without respect isn't love. It's manipulation in disguise. Here's where most men get stuck. They're afraid that if they enforce their boundaries, they'll lose people. And maybe they will. But the better question is this: do you really want to keep people who only stick around when they're allowed to disrespect you? Let that sink in, because that's not love. That's not friendship. That's not loyalty. That's convenience. People like that aren't in your life because they value you. They're there because they benefit from your lack of boundaries. Here's the truth. Boundaries don't push the right people away. They filter out the wrong ones. They act like a magnet, repelling those who don't belong, and attracting those who do. When you set clear, unapologetic boundaries, you send a message: I value myself. And if you want to be in my life, you'll need to do the same. And the people who truly respect you, they'll rise, they'll adapt, they'll meet your standards without being asked twice. The rest, let them walk, because they were never meant to stay. Which brings us to one of the most underestimated forms of power you have, the absence effect. Let's break this down. Your presence holds value. Yes, but your absence? That's where the real power lies. Here's something most men never realize. People don't value what they always have access to. They value what they fear losing. If you're constantly available, constantly texting, constantly showing up, constantly giving, you're sending the message: you don't need to value me, because I'll always be here anyway. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a man who was always there for everyone. First to offer help, first to text, first to make plans, always reaching out, always putting others first. At first, people loved him for it. They praised his loyalty, admired his dependability. But over time, they started to expect it. They stopped showing up for him. They stopped returning the energy. His kindness turned invisible. His effort became background noise. Why? Because his presence became predictable. And predictable things are easy to ignore. Until one day, he stopped. He stopped chasing. He stopped overgiving. He stopped showing up for people who never showed up for him. And something remarkable happened. People started to notice. They asked, where is he? They felt the void. They missed the support they once took for granted. That's the power of absence. And here's the beauty of it. Stepping back isn't about being petty. It's not about revenge. It's about realigning your energy. It's about saying, if you don't value my presence, then you'll feel my absence. It's not a threat. It's a truth. Because when you pull back, you shift the power dynamic. You stop playing the needy role. You stop feeding their ego. You stop asking for scraps. And instead, you start commanding respect, without saying a word. Because absence is powerful. But what really transforms your life is what you do with that space. Let's talk about building unshakable self-worth through intentional self-investment. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He didn't explain. He simply stopped texting first, stopped showing up uninvited, stopped giving his time to people who didn't value it. And you know what happened? People noticed. At first, it was silence. Then came the texts. Hey, where have you been? Everything okay? Why haven't I heard from you? His absence created a void. And in that void, they finally realized what they had taken for granted all along. This is the absence effect in action. And if you've ever felt invisible, like your effort didn't matter, this truth might just change your life. Your presence is powerful. But your absence? That's where your value echoes loudest. When you step back, you create space. And in that space, people are forced to confront one uncomfortable question. What if he's really gone? It's a wake-up call, not just for them, but for you. Because stepping back isn't about punishing someone or playing games. It's not a sneaky move to make them miss you. This isn't some manipulative dating tactic. It's for you. It's about reclaiming your energy, reclaiming your focus, reclaiming your peace. It's about choosing yourself over people who have consistently chosen convenience over you. And here's the best part: when you step back, one of two things happens. They realize your value. and step up, or they don't. And you realize you're better off without them. Either way, you win. Now, here's something most men never understand until it's too late. People don't value what's always available. They value what they might lose. If you're constantly present, always texting first, always checking in, always initiating, always making plans, always giving, always bending, you become background noise. Predictable, comfortable. And you know what's easy to ignore, what's always there. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who showed up for everyone. He was the guy who never missed a call, never hesitated to help, never asked for anything in return. At first, people admired him. They said, "You're one of a kind. You're so dependable." But over time, that admiration faded. They stopped returning the effort. They stopped saying thank you. They stopped noticing his presence at all, because his constant availability taught them a dangerous lesson: he'll always be there. I don't have to try. So one day, he made a choice. He didn't argue. He didn't send a dramatic message. He didn't burn bridges. He just stepped back. No more chasing, no more overgiving, no more proving his worth. And that's when things changed. Suddenly, the people who ignored him started asking questions. Suddenly, his silence was louder than any message he'd ever sent. They noticed the absence they once thought didn't matter, because it did. So let me ask you, who's taking you for granted right now? Who have you been pouring into, only to be met with silence, excuses, or indifference? And more importantly, are you ready to step back? For you, not as a test, not as a tactic, but as a decision to stop investing in people who don't invest in you. Because when you do, you regain something even more valuable than attention. You regain your power. And here's where things really start to shift. When you create space through absence, the question becomes, what do you fill that space with? They stopped showing up. They stopped saying thank you. They stopped appreciating his effort. Why? Because his presence had become predictable. And predictable things, they're easy to ignore. But one day, he made a quiet decision. No speeches, no drama, no explanations. He just withdrew. He stopped texting first. He stopped showing up uninvited. He stopped pouring energy into people who didn't return it. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, something shifted. People began to notice. Where have you been? Is everything okay? Why haven't I heard from you? That space he created, it became a mirror. And in that mirror, they saw what they had taken for granted. That's the absence effect. When you step back, you create space. And in that space, people don't just miss your presence. They're forced to confront the value of what they once had. It's not about guilt-tripping anyone. It's not about emotional games or silent revenge. It's about reclaiming your power. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You stop negotiating your worth. And instead, you shift your focus back where it belongs, on yourself. But let's make one thing very clear. You can't fake the absence effect. You can't pretend to care less just to get someone to chase you. That's not confidence. That's manipulation. And it doesn't last. The real shift happens when you step back for you. When you stop overextending yourself. When you stop investing in people who don't invest in you. And when you do that, something beautiful happens. Some people will realize your value, and they'll step up. Others won't. And that's when you realize you're better off without them. Either way, you win. Because the truth is, once you've tasted peace, once you've found strength in solitude, once you've seen what it feels like to live without begging for respect, you'll never go back. And now that you've reclaimed your time, your energy, and your focus, let's redefine what real confidence looks like. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that commands respect. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't come from likes, compliments, or approval, because it doesn't need them. It comes from within. So what does unshakable confidence truly look like? Imagine walking into a crowded room. Everyone's talking. Everyone's performing. Trying to prove something. But not you. You're not there to compete. You're not scanning the room, looking for validation. You're not adjusting your posture, over-explaining, or dropping achievements into conversations like bait. You're just present, calm, composed, grounded, fully at peace with yourself. You're not the loudest man in the room, but somehow, people still notice you. They feel your energy. Because true confidence doesn't need to shout, it radiates. And that's the kind of confidence that lasts. But how do you get there? It starts with a simple but powerful truth. Confidence isn't about what you have, it's about what you believe. It's not about the six-pack. It's not about the six-figure income. It's not about the designer car or the perfect relationship. Those things are great, but they're external. And anything external can be taken away. Think about the guy who constantly flexes his car, his title, his lifestyle. From the outside, he might look confident. But take those things away, and what's left? Nothing but insecurity. That's not real confidence. That's dependency. That's identity built on things that don't last. Now, contrast that with the man who walks in with nothing to prove. He's not flashy. He's not performing. But he owns the room. Why? Because his confidence is rooted in something deeper: himself, his actions, his discipline, his values, his integrity. That's unshakable confidence. So, how do you build it? Start small. Start by keeping promises to yourself. Hit the gym when you said you would. Wake up on time. Finish that task you've been avoiding. Stick to your word, even when no one is watching. Every single time you follow through, you send yourself a powerful message. I can trust me. And that is where confidence is born. Not in what you say, but in what you do. Confidence is built in the quiet hours. When you push through resistance. When you keep going after failing. When you rise after falling. Each of those moments is a brick in the foundation of your self-belief. And over time, you become unshakable, not because the world stopped testing you, but because you no longer fear being tested. And once that foundation is set, once you know deep down that your worth isn't tied to status or praise, you become someone who commands attention without trying. You become someone people can't ignore, because you can't be shaken. So ask yourself right now, are you living in a way that makes you respect you? If not, that's your starting point. And now, once you've begun to rebuild that inner trust, there's one more piece of the puzzle. One that will multiply your momentum tenfold. Let's talk about focus. The kind of laser focus that separates men who drift from men who dominate. Welcome to Step 8, reclaim your focus. Once you start building confidence by following through on your word, there's one hidden habit that can quietly sabotage all of it. Over-explaining. Yes, that thing we often do without realizing. And it's time we talk about it. Number 8, stop over-explaining yourself. Let me be clear, over-explaining is not a sign of clarity. It's a sign of insecurity. It's what happens when deep down, you're not sure if your choices, boundaries, or standards are valid. So what do? You try to justify them. You offer too much explanation to people who don't deserve one. And that's one of the fastest ways to lose respect, both from others and from yourself. Think about this. Have you ever said no to something, then immediately felt guilty? So you launched into a paragraph of reasons why? Or maybe you told someone a boundary, like I don't answer messages after 8 p.m. And when they pushed back, you scrambled to explain yourself. Justifying, apologizing, softening the line you had just drawn. Sound familiar? Here's what really happened. Your boundary got weaker. your decision lost power. And the other person? They didn't respect you more. They questioned you more. Because when you over-explain, you look unsure. And unsure men don't inspire trust, they invite doubt. Here's the truth. Confident men don't over-explain. They let their decisions speak for themselves. They don't beg for understanding. They don't dilute their standards with unnecessary reasoning. They simply act, and let the actions do the talking. And if someone doesn't like it, that's not their problem. It's not even yours. It's just reality, and you don't need to carry their discomfort. So how do you break the habit? It starts with this. Practice silence. The next time someone questions your decision, resist the urge to launch into a defense. Say this instead. That's what works best for me. Simple, strong, final. And if they press for more, say it again. That's what works best for me. You don't owe anyone a full report about your priorities. You don't need to fill silence with justifications. You owe yourself peace, and peace begins where over-explanation ends. Here's what most men don't realize. Every time you over-explain, you're spending emotional energy on someone else's expectations. And what does that cost you? Clarity, strength, confidence. When you learn to say less, you become more powerful, more composed, more grounded in your truth. Because silence isn't weakness, it's strength under control. So next time someone challenges your boundary, your standard, or your no, don't panic. Don't ramble. Don't perform. Stand still. Speak simply. And move on. Because real power isn't found in how well you explain yourself. It's in how little you need to. And now that you've reclaimed your voice and your boundaries, let's move into something even deeper. A shift in how you see your entire mission. Let's talk about legacy. Because confidence and clarity are only the beginning. What comes next is what you leave behind. You've learned to stop over-explaining. You've begun reclaiming your energy. Now it's time to take the next step, and this one might be the hardest of all. Number 9, cut the dead weight. Let me ask you something. Are there people in your life right now who are quietly holding you back? Not the obvious enemies. Not the ones who scream, "I'm toxic." I'm talking about the ones who drain you slowly. The friend who only calls when they need a favor. The partner who shrugs at your goals. The co-worker who smiles to your face but subtly undermines your efforts. You know who they are. Deep down, you've felt it. They're not helping you grow, they're weighing you down. And here's the hard truth. If you want to evolve, if you truly want to become the man you're meant to be, you have to let them go. I know. It's not easy. Cutting people off feels cold, uncomfortable, even cruel. But keeping the wrong people in your life? That's far more damaging. Every time you tolerate their disrespect, their indifference, their energy-sucking presence, you're sending a message. Not just to them, but to yourself. That message says, I'm okay with being treated this way. And the longer you live with that message, the more you begin to believe it. Think of your life like a mountain. You're climbing higher. You've got goals to reach, strength to build, dreams to fulfill. But you're doing it with a heavy backpack strapped to your back. And what's in that backpack? Dead weight. Doubt. Toxic people. Old stories. Negative energy. All of it slowing you down. Now picture this. You stop. You take off the pack. You stand taller. You breathe deeper. You move forward, faster, freer, lighter. That's the power of letting go. Your time and energy are limited resources. Every minute you spend chasing people who don't value you is a minute you could have spent on your growth, your mission, your peace. So why are you still giving your best to people who give you their bare minimum? Why are you pouring into people who never pour back? It's time to ask yourself the real question. Who actually deserves a place in your life? And remember, cutting people off isn't about bitterness. It's not about revenge or making a scene. It's about self-respect. It's about making space for the people who do support you. The ones who lift you, challenge you, believe in you. Because when you stop carrying what doesn't serve you, you gain the strength to carry what matters. Now, as you begin to remove the dead weight, you're going to notice something incredible. Clarity. That's exactly what it feels like when you finally let go of the weight that's been holding you down for far too long. It's not just lighter, it's liberating. So how do you do it? How do you cut the dead weight? Start by getting brutally honest with yourself. Who's draining your energy instead of fueling your growth? Who are the people that leave you feeling empty, exhausted, or overlooked? You know them. They're the ones who always take but rarely give. Who smile to your face but vanish when you need them most. Make a list, mentally or on paper. Call it what it is, emotional clutter. Next, set your boundaries. Let these people know, calmly, clearly, confidently, what you will and won't tolerate. You don't need to yell. You don't need to explain every detail. You just need to be firm. And if they can't respect those boundaries, walk away. No apologies. No dramatic exits. Just leave. Because here's the truth most people avoid. Cutting someone off isn't always about them. It's about you. It's about choosing your peace over their chaos. Your future over their drama. Your worth over their indifference. It's about making a bold statement to the world, and to yourself. I am done settling for less than I deserve. Now take a hard look at your life. Really look. Who are you keeping around out of guilt, fear, or habit? And what's it costing you? It's time to clear that space. Because when you let go of the wrong people, you create room for the right ones. The kind who lift you, support you, challenge you to grow. That's when things start to shift. That's when your life finally begins to align with your values. That's when you begin to rise. And now that the noise is fading, it's time to turn inward. Because your next move isn't about anyone else. It's about you, and the one thing that will determine whether you rise or fall from this point on. Let's talk about it. Number 10, reclaim your focus. You can't build the life you want with scattered focus. Let that sink in. If your attention is constantly hijacked by other people's opinions, by their drama, by trying to earn respect from those who never intended to give it, then you're giving away the most valuable resource you have, your focus. And here's the hard truth. You'll never become who you're meant to be if you keep handing your attention to things that don't matter. Take a step back and think. How many nights have you stayed awake replaying a conversation, wishing you'd said something smarter, tougher, more confident? How many hours have you lost scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to someone else's highlight reel, while your own goals sat untouched? How much of your energy have you spent fixing relationships with people who barely acknowledge your effort, people who wouldn't cross the street for you, even though you've crossed oceans for them? The answer? Too much. And it's costing you everything. Now imagine this. What if you took all that mental noise and redirected it? What if all the time you spent worrying, chasing, and doubting was used to build something real? To learn a new skill. To grow stronger, physically, mentally, emotionally. To create the version of yourself that you've always dreamed of becoming. The version that's been buried under distractions. Here's where it begins. Reclaim your focus. It starts with a single decision, a shift in how you see your time and energy. From now on, if it doesn't help you grow, let it go. If it doesn't move you forward, walk away. If it drains your energy or clouds your clarity, cut it off. It really is that simple. But don't confuse simple with easy. Because the truth is, this path requires discipline. It requires you to say no to distractions, to toxic people, to your old habits of self-sabotage. It requires you to set boundaries and stick to them, even when it makes others uncomfortable. And above all, it requires you to prioritize yourself, even when nobody else does. So how do you do it? Start by asking yourself one crucial question. What are my top priorities? What are the things that truly matter to you? Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's becoming mentally bulletproof or spiritually grounded. Whatever it is, get clear. Write it down. Name it. Own it. Because until you know what deserves your attention, you'll keep giving it away to what doesn't. And once you reclaim your focus, there's one final key to unlocking the life you deserve. The one thing that separates powerful men from passive ones. Number 11, lead yourself first. Once you know what you want, the next step is brutal honesty. Look at how you spend your time. Not how you wish you spent it. Not what you tell people you're working on. But how you're actually spending your hours, your focus. Are your daily actions aligned with the man you say you want to become? Or are you pouring your energy into distractions, into people who don't reciprocate, into scrolling, worrying, and waiting? Here's the fix: take inventory of your focus. Unfollow people who drain your confidence. Say no to plans that take you further from your goals. And most of all, stop feeding your energy to people who don't respect you. Because when you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your power. And when you reclaim your power, that's when your life begins to transform from the inside out. Now let's move to something deeper. More subtle. But equally life-changing. Number 11, the art of subtle detachment. At first glance, the word detachment might sound harsh, cold, even. But real detachment isn't about shutting yourself off or becoming numb. It's about finding something far more powerful, emotional freedom. The kind of freedom that unchains you from the fear of loss. That breaks your addiction to approval. That removes the pressure to prove yourself constantly just to be seen. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring the right way. It means you still show up. Still love. Still strive. Still give it your best. But you don't let your identity hang on whether things go your way or not. Let's bring it into a real-world example. Imagine being in a relationship where every text, every glance, every shift in tone sends you spiraling. You overanalyze. You stress. You sacrifice. You try to keep them happy. But in the process, you lose yourself. That's not love. That's fear disguised as love. And that fear will poison everything. Now imagine approaching that same relationship from a place of grounded detachment. You're present. You're kind. You're giving. But you're not trying to control the outcome. You know that if they stay, great. If they leave, you'll still be okay. You're not dependent, you're independent. That's detachment. It's not closing your heart, it's protecting it from being ruled by chaos. This applies to more than just relationships. It applies to your career, your goals, your identity. When you master the art of detachment, you no longer fall apart when something doesn't go your way. You learn to say, "This didn't happen to me, it happened for me." And then, you move forward, stronger, wiser, unshaken. So how do you practice detachment? Start by watching your thoughts when things don't go as planned. Do you spiral? Do you chase? Do you overattach your worth to the result? Then train yourself to pause. Breathe. Observe the emotion, but don't become it. Respond. Don't react. And finally, remind yourself of this simple truth. Your value isn't determined by outcomes. You were valuable before the relationship. Before the job. Before the success. You're valuable now. Because detachment doesn't make you weaker. It makes you unshakable. And in the next part, we'll explore how that unshakable mindset transforms not only your relationships and goals, but the entire way you live. That's not love. That's fear. And fear is the exact opposite of detachment. Now imagine a different reality. Same relationship. Same setting. But this time, you're different. Instead of clinging to every text or constantly analyzing every mood shift, you're centered. You're calm. You're clear. You focus on being the best version of you. You communicate your needs without guilt. You set healthy boundaries without fear. You give your love fully, but not at the cost of your dignity. And most importantly, your happiness isn't chained to their decisions. If they stay, it's wonderful. If they leave, you'll still be whole. That's not cold. That's clarity. That's not detachment from emotion, it's detachment from emotional chaos. And that, my friend, is freedom. But let's go even deeper. Detachment isn't just a relationship skill. It's a life mindset, a compass you can apply everywhere. From your career, to your friendships, to your purpose. Because when you master detachment, the world no longer sways your soul. You stay grounded, regardless of the storms. You become the calm in the middle of the chaos. So how do you develop this kind of power? You shift your focus. Instead of obsessing over what you can't control, you double down on what you can. Instead of constantly seeking other people's approval, you start asking yourself, do I approve of the way I'm living? Instead of clinging to outcomes, you trust that no matter what unfolds, you'll be okay. You'll learn. You'll adapt. You'll grow. That shift takes practice. It requires courage. It means letting go of the need to control everyone and everything. But when you do, something incredible happens. You find peace. Not the temporary peace that comes from everything going your way, but the deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing you can handle life even when it doesn't. And in a world that constantly pulls at your energy, your focus, your sanity, that kind of peace, it's priceless. And now, after all the steps, all the lessons, all the shifts, it's time for the final piece. The step that ties it all together. Number 12, dominate your own path. This is it. The last and most powerful truth. The line that separates the average man from the extraordinary one. It's time to dominate your own path. And no, I don't mean dominate with ego or aggression. Not the loud kind. Not the insecure kind. I mean dominate with quiet confidence. With purpose. With clarity. With zero apologies. Because the truth is this. If you don't lead your life, someone else will. And if you don't define your path, you'll end up walking one that was never meant for you. If you don't take control of your life, someone else will. Let that sink in. Because that's not just a possibility, it's a promise. Look around. How many men do you know who are living lives that don't even feel like their own? They follow the script that was handed to them since birth. Go to school. Get a safe job. Buy a house. Get married. Retire someday. It's a checklist written by a society that rewards compliance and punishes vision. And so they walk the path. Until one day they wake up, look around, and wonder, how did I get here? Whose life am I even living? But here's the truth. You weren't born to follow someone else's blueprint. You weren't born to live a copy and paste life. You were born to build your own masterpiece. So how do you do it? How do you dominate your own path, on your terms? Step 1, take radical ownership. Stop waiting. Stop blaming. Stop hoping someone else will change your life. Because the second you stop saying it's their fault and start saying it's my responsibility, you reclaim your power. Ownership is the beginning of transformation. It's the moment you stop reacting to life and start leading it. Step 2, define your vision. What does success look like, to you? Not what your parents expect. Not what Instagram shows. Not what your friends chase. What ignites your soul? Is it building your dream business? Traveling the world? Mastering an art form? Becoming a great father? Living with total freedom? Whatever it is, get specific. Write it down. Speak it out loud. See it clearly in your mind. Because a dream that isn't written down is just a wish. But a vision you commit to, that becomes your mission. Step 3, take ruthless, consistent action. A vision without action is just fantasy. A plan without movement is just procrastination in disguise. Dominate your path by doing the work. Day in, day out, no matter how small the steps. Read the books. Take the risks. Make the sacrifices. And when fear shows up, and it will, walk through it anyway. Because domination isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward in spite of fear. Step 4, audit your circle. You can't build an empire surrounded by people who think small. You can't dominate your life while constantly dragging around people who drain you. Surround yourself with warriors, people who challenge you, stretch you, see your potential, and hold you to it. Let go of anyone who can't respect your boundaries, your values, or your growth. It's not about being cruel. It's about protecting your purpose. Because you can't fly if you're carrying everyone else's weight. And finally, enjoy the journey. Dominating your own path is not about rushing toward a finish line. It's not about ticking off boxes or chasing someone else's timeline. It's about waking up every morning with fire in your soul. It's about looking in the mirror and thinking, I may not be there yet, but I'm exactly where I need to be. It's about knowing, deep in your bones, that this life is yours. And every choice you make is a step closer to the man you were born to become. So don't wait for permission. Don't ask for approval. And don't ever apologize for building the life you know you're capable of living. This is your path. Now dominate it knowing that you're living life on your terms. That's the real definition of freedom. It's not about money. It's not about status. It's about waking up, looking in the mirror, and feeling proud of the man staring back. The man who didn't quit. The man who didn't shrink to make others comfortable. The man who built his own legacy, brick by brick, with sweat, discipline, and courage. So stop waiting. Stop doubting. Stop holding back. The world doesn't need a watered-down version of you. It needs the real you, the man who's ready to take the lead. And the best part? The path is yours to create. No one else gets to decide who you become. The time is now. And the man to do it, is you. Now imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and something shifts. You stop chasing approval from people who never earned your loyalty. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You stop handing over your energy to distractions that once kept you stuck. And in that silence, you rise. You walk into every room with quiet strength, not because you have something to prove, but because you don't. You speak less and command more. You move with clarity. You make decisions with purpose. And suddenly, you're no longer pulled by opinions, you're powered by vision. Now picture this. The people who once overlooked you. The ones who ignored your worth. The ones who only showed up when it was convenient. They start to notice your absence. They feel the void of your presence. The strength, the warmth, the energy you once gave so freely. And when they come crawling back, you're not there waiting. You're too busy building. Too busy growing. Too busy evolving into the man you were always meant to become. You're not living for their attention anymore. You're living for your mission. How would that feel? To know you didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just ask for respect, you earned it. You didn't follow the script, you wrote your own. That's what this journey is all about. Not fixing others. Not chasing what's broken. But becoming the man who doesn't need to chase. The man who owns his worth. Who sets boundaries like a king. Who builds a life so magnetic, so focused, so powerful, that others have no choice but to respect it. And it all starts with one thing. A decision. To stop settling. To stop chasing. To stop giving your time, energy, and soul to people who never deserved access to your greatness. But listen closely. None of this happens without action. Watching this video is not enough. Reading these words is not enough. You have to rise. You have to move. You have to become the man you already know lives inside you. So if you're ready, now is your time. And if no one has told you lately, you're more than enough. You're stronger than you know. And you're worthy of building a life that sets your soul on fire, but none of this means anything if you don't act on it. So here's your challenge. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to defend your name in every room you walk into. And you certainly don't need to convince people who already made up their minds. Because when you stop chasing their recognition and start standing in your own truth, something shifts. You become calm. You become clear. And most of all, you become unshakable. So the next time someone stops taking you seriously, don't fight for their respect. Command your own. Speak less. Move with quiet power. And let your presence say what words never could. Because the moment you decide you're enough is the moment the world has no choice but to adjust. That's not ego. That's Stoic strength. And now, it's yours. Set one boundary today. Reclaim 1 hour of your time. Take one bold step toward the man you know you're meant to become. Because every transformation, no matter how massive, starts with a single decision. And your journey? It starts now. If this message shook something inside you, if it reminded you of your worth, if it lit a fire you've been ignoring for far too long, then do this. Drop a comment right now. I am ready to reclaim my power. Let that be your declaration. Let the world know you're no longer playing small. And don't just walk away. Bell emoji, hit that subscribe button. Because this is only the beginning. You're not just supporting a channel. You're joining a brotherhood. A tribe of men who are bold, focused, and done settling for less. Together, we're building a movement of strong, grounded, unapologetic men. Men who own their value, who set the standard, and who refuse to be anything less than unstoppable. Welcome to the journey. Let's rise together.